Momo Ayase and Okarun are total opposites when it comes to the supernatural. They're constantly trying to one-up each other, getting tangled up in wild paranormal drama and secret crushes they didn't sign up for. Momo Ayase dumps her boyfriend after he asks her for money to go on a date and suggests they hook up at a hotel. Heartbroken, she vents to her friends, telling them she was only into him because he looked like her favorite actor, Ken Takakura, a detail their friends find totally ridiculous. Later, in a bad mood, Momo sees a guy being bullied and steps in to defend him. The guy, Occult Khan, starts chatting about aliens, which only makes her feel worse. Momo confesses she believes in ghosts, not aliens, which sparks a heated debate between them. They make a bet to prove whose belief is right. That night, they go off to separate places. Momo heads to Nagi Hospital, while Occult Khan checks out a tunnel. While they're on the phone, Momo shares her past issues with her grandmother, a spirit medium, and how she was made fun of for doing rituals. She eventually came to terms with it, realizing her grandmother's role was important. Meanwhile, Occult Khan meets an old spirit, Turbo Granny, who scares him out of his mind. Momo hears his screams as Turbo Granny catches him and rushes to help, but she spots three mysterious figures and is captured by them. After surviving the UFO's destruction,
That sucked.
Momo and Occult Khan find themselves believing in both aliens and ghosts. Occult Khan decides to leave and face Turbo Granny on his own, not wanting to drag Momo into any more trouble. But Momo refuses to back down, insisting on helping. Occult Khan, touched by her kindness, finally accepts and apologizes for his earlier behavior, admitting he's just an awkward guy. When he says something that reminds Momo of Ken Takakura, she's momentarily stunned, but quickly shakes it off, brushing aside any strange thoughts. Then, realizing she never even asked his name, she finally does. When Occult Khan tells her his name is Ken Takakura, Momo is left speechless, her mind reeling. Momo refuses to believe that Ken Takakura shares the name of her favorite idol, sticking to calling him Okarun, a nickname he reluctantly agrees to. Since spirits don't appear during the day, Momo invites Okarun to her place to hang out until nightfall when they plan to face Turbo Granny. However, as Okarun tries to walk through the torii gate, his body suddenly bursts into flames. Using her psychic powers, Momo hurls him into the river, discovering that a talisman on the gate caused the fiery mishap. After removing it, Okarun's hair is comically transformed into an old lady's perm, much to his frustration. Inside her house, Okarun is horrified to find that his genitals are missing. Momo reminds him it's a consequence of his reckless actions at school. He confesses that he feared losing the chance to make a friend, but Momo gently points out that his real issue is isolating himself from others. Okarun, moved by her words, starts tearing up, only to snap back rudely, annoying Momo. Just then, the doorbell rings. Momo senses something is wrong and suspects it's an evil spirit. They realize that removing the talisman must have allowed an evil spirit to enter. Rushing to put it back, they find a wall blocking their path. As they breathe in a thick black mist, their noses begin to bleed. They suddenly encounter a giant who accuses them of breaking a promise and threatens to take their banana organs. However, the monster grows an extra pair of legs and slams Momo into the wall, blocking the torii gate. Despite her injuries, Momo refuses to give up and reveals her plan: to be beaten into the wall, creating space to place the talisman back. After doing so, the Flatwoods monster is incinerated, and they return to the real world. Momo breathes a sigh of relief, thinking the conflict is finally over. She glances at Okarun, noticing his hair has changed once again, now messy and unruly. Strangely, she finds it kind of charming. After the intense battle, the exhaustion hits her all at once, and she collapses in front of Okarun, drained from everything that just happened. However, in that moment of vulnerability, the curse from Turbo Granny takes hold of Okarun. Without Turbo Granny's powers to suppress it, the curse strikes, leaving Okarun in its grip. During a live broadcast, psychic Santa Dodoria gives a reading for a celebrity, but is repeatedly corrected by him. After the session, she hails a taxi but decides to walk the rest of the way, fearing for the driver's safety. Before Turbo Granny can consume Momo, her grandmother arrives just in time, throwing a brick with a nail and a circle that sets Turbo Granny on fire. A duel ensues, with Turbo Granny attempting to attack from behind, but bursting into flames each time she nears the grandmother's protective barrier. The grandmother reveals she has trapped Turbo Granny with a second barrier and continues to beat the spirit with her bat. Despite Turbo Granny's threat that killing her will also kill Okarun, Momo later wakes up, concerned about Okarun's safety, and asks her grandmother if she's seen him. Her grandmother reveals that the evil spirit was vanquished. Momo, worried for Okarun, apologizes for doubting her grandmother's abilities and is told to check the shrine outside.
Okarun!
Finding Okarun safe and happy, Momo's relief turns to irritation, and she slams the door on him. Her grandmother then explains that Okarun's curse is dormant within the shrine and admits she fabricated his demise to provoke Momo, questioning if she has feelings for him, which Momo denies. Later, Okarun apologizes for his weakness during the Flatwoods monster fight and vows to improve. Momo reassures him and prepares a futum and barley tea for him. Meanwhile, Momo's grandmother watches a report about Shoma, the celebrity she predicted would have his secrets exposed, confirming her clairvoyant abilities. Momo comments on the news as unnecessary. Before heading to the tunnel, Momo's grandmother provides both Momo and Okarun with garments to protect them from evil spirits and gives Momo a tight embrace, praying for their safety. On the train ride to the tunnel, Momo fumes with anger at Turbo Granny for hurting her grandmother and vows to get revenge, while Okarun, embarrassed by their unusual outfits, hides his face with his hands, clearly uncomfortable with their public appearance. Momo and Okarun roll up to the tunnel, ready to bait Turbo Granny and drag her to the city outskirts to finally kick her ass. But as soon as they step in, they're instantly cornered by the twisted old spirit, who straight up snatches Okarun's curse. Momo, remembering Seiko's advice, smirks and starts poking at Turbo Granny, daring her to a game of tag. The old hag's rage distracts her long enough for Momo and Okarun to grab hold of her and get the curse back. They try to bolt for the outskirts, but it's a total disaster. Turbo Granny's crab spirit and the possessed corpses of the dead are all over them. Momo, being the clever pain in the ass she is, remembers Turbo Granny's creepy rep as the 100-kilo granny. She dares the spirit to chase her, luring her onto a train that's faster than the old hag's wrinkled legs. The train rushes past the city outskirts, and just when it seems like all hope is lost, Momo, Okarun, and Seiko finally manage to take down Turbo Granny, sending her packing and hopefully breaking Okarun's curse for good. The three head back to the tunnel to show some respect. They find out that Turbo Granny, despite all her madness, started out trying to help the spirits of girls who'd been assaulted and met tragic ends. It's a twisted backstory, but it explains a lot. Finally, Momo turns to Okarun and says she's looking forward to seeing him tomorrow, which totally lights up his face. Momo and Okarun start vibing, but things hit the fan when Momo's friends start assuming they're a couple. They get into a full-blown argument, and Okarun storms off to the bathroom to blow off some steam. While he's there, he stumbles upon some freaky stuff that totally messes with his head. Panicked, he rushes back to Momo's classroom, desperate to talk, but she slams the door in his face. After school, Okarun accidentally bumps into some random student and apologizes. She's all friendly, but Momo overhears her talking behind Okarun's back, mocking him like he's some kind of joke. Momo snaps, using her powers to hurt the girl just to teach her a lesson. Okarun, feeling totally humiliated, confesses that even though he got his banana back, he's lost his balls.
Hey!
Yeah, you heard that right. He has no balls. They decide to go to Seiko to get some answers. Seiko does her thing, performing the ritual on Okarun, and Momo yanks some creepy spirit out of him, trapping it in a Maneki Neko doll. The doll suddenly comes to life, and to their surprise, it's Turbo Granny's consciousness. She explains she took over Okarun's body before, but after the fight, she was booted out. Okarun then transforms into some weird new yokai form, and Seiko reveals that even though Turbo Granny's gone, her spirit's still hanging around inside him. When they ask where his balls are, Turbo Granny just shrugs and admits she has no clue where she left them. Turbo Granny drops a huge revelation, saying that Okarun's balls, now golden Kintama, are charged with her own aura that pulls in spirits like a magnet. At school, Era Shiratori, the same girl who's been ragging on Okarun, notices something off. She pulls out a Kintama, one she snagged during the mess between Momo, Okarun, and Turbo Granny. Turbo Granny feels this, sensing Era's spiritual powers awakening. Era, feeling bold, confronts Momo and Okarun, demanding to speak with Momo. Then, without warning, she tries to exorcise Momo like she's some damn priestess. Okarun and Turbo Granny jump in to save Momo. When Era calls the spirit a monster, acrobatic Silky swallows her too, then turns to Momo. Momo, thinking fast, uses Era's cross lighter to light Silky's hair on fire, burning the spirit alive. Acrobatic Silky screams, finally spitting out Okarun, Momo, and Era. Momo and Okarun manage to keep acrobatic Silky distracted just long enough to beat her down and get Okarun's damn Kintama back from Era. But when they check on Era, they realize the poor girl's dead.
I am having a very bad day. I am in no mood.
Turns out, no ordinary human can handle a spirit like that. Not one to leave things unfinished, acrobatic Silky offers to bring Era back by passing her aura onto the girl. Momo reluctantly links their auras, and that's when things gets real. Momo sees acrobatic Silky's twisted past. The spirit had been a single mom, grinding in sketchy jobs just to keep her daughter fed and the bills paid. She even turned to prostitution to cover a damn debt. One day, loan sharks busted into her place, beat the hell out of her, and kidnapped her daughter. Eventually, it all pushed the mother to end her own life. Her spirit wandered for ages until a lost Era, grieving over her own mom's death, mistook acrobatic Silky for the mother she never had. Moved by the connection, acrobatic Silky made a vow to protect Era, morphing into the spirit they now faced. With the past laid bare, Era's brought back to life, and Momo's a mess, crying her eyes out. Acrobatic Silky, though, is fading, regretting she never fixed her past and couldn't find peace. Era, now fully alive, holds her, promising to never forget the spirit's sacrifice and swearing to keep her memory alive. Even after Momo and Okarun saved her sorry ass, Era is still convinced that Momo's some demon straight out of hell and swears she's gonna rescue Okarun from her control. Turbo Granny, meanwhile, reattaches Okarun's golden Kintama like it's just another Tuesday. Momo's starting to feel uneasy seeing Okarun pulling away from her at school. And then, she catches him on top of Era. What Momo doesn't know is that earlier, Okarun had split off to exercise when Era found him. After a bit of awkward back and forth, Era finally spills her feelings for Okarun. But before anything can go down, they start arguing, and Era ends up tripping him. Next thing Momo sees, they're all tangled up in an awkward position. Okarun tries to explain himself, but Momo's too damn jealous to hear it. As classes roll on, Okarun starts noticing the school flooding, and his classmates are just vanishing. After meeting up with Era, they both figure out they're trapped in some messed up realm, something like when Okarun fought the Flatwoods monster. Meanwhile, Momo's dodging an alien that looks like a freaking plesiosaur, while Okarun and Era get slammed by some mantis shrimp-looking alien. The Serpoians show up again, capturing Okarun and knocking out Era. They start planning some sick experiments on Okarun, but out of nowhere, Era taps into acrobatic Silky's powers and shuts the Serpoians down, saving Okarun's ass in the nick of time. Era is going full beast mode, taking on that mantis shrimp and the Serpoians, while a naked Okarun jumps in to join the chaos, barely keeping things together. Momo shows up later to lend a hand, and together, they finally put the smackdown on the Serpo-controlled mantis shrimp. Just when they think they're in the clear, the whole damn realm starts turning into water, and then boom, in comes the plesiosaur, or as Okarun calls it, Nessie. The thing starts killing off the Serpoians like its cleaning house. But of course, the mantis shrimp gets a power-up with the water, smashes Era into the ground, and now Momo and Okarun are losing their minds.
Stronger underwater.
Okarun's freaked out, pleading with Momo to just listen to him, to stop being a jealous mess and open up. In the middle of this drama, they somehow manage to rescue Era and make a run for it. Now, with the water rising, Momo and Era strip down to their undies so they aren't dragging extra weight. Meanwhile, the last of the Serpo, fed up with their failures, merges with Nessie and the mantis shrimp into one ugly-ass fusion. It's a total nightmare. The trio struggles at first, but after figuring out the damn thing's weak spots, they manage to take it down and get back to their real school. But of course, things don't go as planned. The entire school catches them in their skivvies, and everyone's thinking they were doing way more than fighting aliens. The trio is left mortified, with all eyes on them, trying to figure out how the hell to explain this mess. Momo and Era are both sitting in a pit of despair after the whole alien fiasco, while the girls and Okarun try to piece together what the aliens were really after. Okarun eventually fills Momo in on what went down the day before, explaining everything she missed in a way that finally clears some things up. But just when things start to calm down, Era's classmates decide to start giving Momo hell, spreading nasty rumors that Era herself started. Era, realizing the mess she created, steps up like a real one, taking full responsibility and telling her classmates to back the hell off and stop trash-talking Momo. Era then meets with Momo, and the two set off to deal with the wounded mantis shrimp, dragging him all the way to Seiko's place. After dinner, the mantis shrimp opens up, telling them his son, Chiquitita, is about to kick the bucket from all the blood he's losing. Seiko, not missing a beat, hands him a glass of milk, and the mantis shrimp realizes this is like a blood transfusion for him. Grateful as hell, he asks Seiko if he can kidnap a cow for his son. Seiko, chill as ever, agrees, and the mantis shrimp promises to help them if they need anything in the future. Just when things seem to be cooling down, a knock at the door shakes things up. Enter Jin, Gigi, and Joji, a blast from Momo's past. When Okarun asks who the hell this guy is, Seiko drops the news that Gigi is Momo's childhood friend and first love. Okarun's left stunned, trying to process the curveball that just hit him.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!
Seiko casually drops the news that Gigi will be staying with them for a while since his parents are hospitalized. Gigi then opens up to Momo, revealing that his parents got caught up in some messed up supernatural shit, which led him to seek out Seiko after being told by a bunch of other spirit mediums that she could help him. As Gigi settles in, transferring to Momo and Okarun's school, Okarun can't help but feel this gnawing anxiety creeping in. Every time he sees Gigi laughing and joking with Momo, that jealousy eats him up inside. He's paranoid as hell, thinking that Momo's just gonna forget about him and ditch him for Gigi. It all starts to get too much, and on one of those days, he storms off. Leaving Momo and Gigi behind. While wandering off on his own, Okarun comes across this freaky sentient anatomical model named Taro, who's hauling ass away from something. Of course, Okarun yells for Momo, and she spots a shiny object tucked under Taro's groin. The three of them, Momo, Okarun, and a totally confused Gigi, chase Taro through the city like a wild goose chase, eventually following him to a creepy junkyard. There, they find Taro reunited with another anatomical model, this one named Hana. Taro spills his guts, professing his love for Hana, and as Okarun watches, he gets this sudden jolt of inspiration. If a damn anatomical model can go after what it wants, then hell, he's not about to sit back and watch Momo slip away. He's gonna fight for her, no matter what. After realizing the Kintama Momo saw was just some damn Christmas ornament, the group drags Hana to Seiko's house to wait for Taro to show up. Gigi's been losing his mind, hallucinating the spirit that's been messing with his parents. Momo, Gigi, and Okarun head to Gigi's cursed house, and Okarun's getting more jealous as Momo and Gigi keep bonding. Remembering Taro's weird-ass confession, Okarun tries to grab Momo's attention with his usual crap, but ends up getting Gigi's attention instead. They finally reach Gigi's house, still clueless that they're being watched. Momo doesn't notice anything off, but senses something's wrong and figures the spirit's hiding somewhere. She tells Okarun and Gigi to chill while she heads back into town alone to hit the onsen. Okarun's stuck with Gigi, and they end up talking about what they like about Momo. Meanwhile, at the onsen, Momo gets cornered by a bunch of creepy guys. Back at Gigi's house, Okarun and Gigi find a hidden room behind a fake wall. They bust it open, and inside, they find a creepy-ass room filled with talismans.